Yo people, how is it going? It's OXSN reporting in, just filming a quick voice note for myself partly, and I'll likely upload it anyway, as I normally do. But don't expect anything from me. I don't want to make this a long thing. I just want to articulate this kind of idea or experience in a way. So let's just cut to the chase. I've re-recorded this a few times because I kind of fucked up the intro, even though I don't want to make this a long thing. But basically, the way that I quote-unquote woke up this morning was rather strange. As in, woke up with an alarm, like from my sleep. I go to bed at night, I have my 8-ish hours sleep, 7 hours sleep, and then I wake up in the morning, right? Quote-unquote. I quote-unquote wake up. This is what I'm talking about. Basically, it's like I had dreams last night. Or quote-unquote dreams, right? And of course, if you're familiar with metaphysics and that whole shtick, then this will make more sense, you know. If you're familiar with the nature of reality and God and psychedelics and metaphysics, dream versus reality, again, all of these terms with major grains of salt, because everything is a fucking paradox. And look, let me just tell you my experience and stop chatting gas. Basically, I was having dreams last night. I don't remember all of them, but one of the dreams was that I was on a bus. I was on the top of a bus, and it was nighttime. And I'm pretty sure the bus crashed, like, while I was on the bus. But you know, like, the state of consciousness that is the dream state. It's a bit like, it seems a bit less real than when you're actually awake. Like, if you're listening to this voice note now, you know, everything seems rather somewhat vivid. When you're awake, reality is like in a much more, well, it seems that conventionally you are, like, reality itself is more awake when you are awake, like when you're not sleeping, right? When you're not dreaming. Again, take all of these terms with major grains of salt, because what I'm gonna say in a second, it goes beyond duality, and it gets kind of confusing. It's so weird to think about when I reflect on it, because I'm still in it. What am I on about? Basically, so I was having many dreams last night. One of the dreams being that I was on a bus at night time on the top deck, and it was raining and the bus was crashing. And the dream was like jumping about, and it was in that weird lower state of consciousness that, you know, like, in contrast to when you're awake, supposedly, like, you know, when you're at work, like when you're in the midst of a shift, or if you're digging a hole in the sun in real life, awake on Earth, you're actually rather awake, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty real. It's not like a dream state. A dream state is rather choppy, and it's not as lucid, kind of. It's a bit like, it doesn't really make any sense. It's like you're not as awake, you're not as conscious in the dream. It's almost similar to when you're tired, like, it's almost like the vibration is lower. Not inherently, I'm sure you can have very vivid and awake dreams, as many of my family have reported to me, and I've heard many reports of. But basically, here's the main point, let's get to it now, is that I was dreaming all of these dreams last night while I was asleep. Also I thought, right? So I'm dreaming. Imagine you are asleep in your bed. Suppose it, like, you go to bed, right, as you normally do. You go sleep in your bedroom, in your bed, right? And you have dreams, like normal, somewhat, if you do have dreams. And then the alarm goes off in the morning, right? If you work a job, you know, the alarm goes off. It's time to wake up. And then, or even if you don't work a job, if you have something scheduled, I'm sure the alarm goes off at some point. Or even if the alarm doesn't go off, it doesn't really matter. But in my case, the alarm went off for me so that I could wake up on time to go to work. Into wage slavery matrix Babylon, right? But that's not relevant. What I want to communicate is that, like, basically, it's so hard to articulate that a video that would dovetails with this and do it justice is a video by actualize.org called State of Consciousness is Everything. I'll leave that there, I won't deep that too much, but basically is that when my alarm went off in the morning and I supposedly woke up from the dream out of my bed, and the human the human being woke up. Therefore, supposedly he stopped sleeping, when you're asleep, the way that science explains it is that, like, what are dreams? Oh, when you're asleep, the brain, if you have like one of them Fitbit watches or something that measure your heart rate and everything, you can detect, like, the brain within a few hours will go into REM sleep, and then it will stay in REM sleep for 3 hours, or I don't know what the exact facts are or the exact terminology, but there's going to be a lot of science out there on the nature of sleep, the nature of what they call REM sleep, which is like rapid eye movement. So that's the assumption, right? It's like science explains dreams away by saying the human body, it's going to be a similar description to this, is that, like, the human goes to sleep in the bed, and then during REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep, the brain is sorting through memories, and that explains dreams, right? That's what they'd say to an extent. First, keep in mind that a lot of that is explanation, and most of that is not direct experience. Not from your perspective anyway. Like, you might be able to observe a different person and get that conclusion. I don't want to stem off. Sorry, it's hard to articulate, but the main point that I'm trying to articulate is that there is no difference. Now hold on, because it depends how I drop the bomb, so to speak, on how you're going to take this in, kind of. So imagine me dreaming about being on this bus at night time and all this crazy shit's going on, as you can imagine a dream. Like, dreams can be like, 1 minute I'm with a fucking giant wasp on a beach, next minute I'm fucking in the midst of a burglary, fucking having a fight, next minute I'm having sex with my ex or something. It's like, it's literally, and there's no like it's not like solid like the material world, or so we think. It's like, it's way more like fluid and like psychedelic, where like, like 1 minute I'm with a giant wasp, next minute I'm with a giant spider, next minute I'm fucking on a bus with a gun, and it just like, it can just chop around like that. So that's what my dreams were doing. They were just like, I was dreaming I was on a bus, and it was just weird dream stuff, right? And then the dream dreamt that my alarm went off and that it was time to wake up for work, and the dream became radically more awake. So what I'm saying is that inner and outer space are exactly the same, yeah. When you start hearing voices speaking inside of your brain, yeah. And you might start to think that you're going just a little insane, yeah. Because inner and outer space are exactly the same. We can fly to distant galaxies without any rocket ship. We can ride the racing neural pathways of the brain. So basically what I'm saying is that, like, and it's all to do with awakening, consciousness, perception, if any, self, and where you're standing and what you identify with, sort of. It's very metaphysical, fucking psychedelic, God consciousness stuff. It's that literally, like, imagine you were dreaming at night and you dreamt that you woke up. Has that ever happened to you? Get this, yeah, before I woke up, yeah, I actually did wake up. Like, basically, this was a completely different time. I woke up, but I was in between worlds, and so my blanket was like covering my eyes, and I sat up and I moved the blanket away from my face, and I woke up. However, when I moved the blanket away, it was actually stained onto my eyes as if it was still there. So the blanket was actually physically not there, but it's like my visuals were lagging. Therefore, I could still see the blanket, but it wasn't there. I then proceeded to wake up like 4 times in a row, having no idea what the fuck was happening. And this was a genuine experience about a year and a half ago. It was like, I woke up, but like only half of me woke up, and I was like clipping in and out of like, it was weird. What was it? How did it happen? Yeah, I woke up. Yeah, I just sat up in my bed, and then it happened like 5 times over and over again. And I was like falling at the same time, and it was like I was trying to move this blanket and it wasn't moving, and I was in shock. And it like, I'm not fucking taking the piss, it was so weird, man. It was like literally like reality just broke. Like I woke up, but like I just woke up like not properly, or like half of me woke up. But then again, like, how do we not know that basically what I'm trying to communicate is the way that science says it, and the way that most people conventionally think of it, is that you wake up from the dream, from REM sleep, from rapid eye movement, the body wakes up out of the bed, the brain activates, the eyes open, therefore you can see the world. But how do we not know that you're not dreaming that still? But the vibration and the level of awakeness is just different. Like, why can't you dream that you wake up? But like, it's just like a genius illusion. Something that's quite relevant is Dakota of Earth said in a short that he published recently on his TikTok and his YouTube, where does the light from our dreams come from? Like, science, like, let me try and find it. Dakota of Earth, shorts. Yeah, yeah, listen to this. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Let me turn off this thing.
Where does the light in our dreams come from? Because like here, science explains it however science explains it. We have the sun, photons, yada yada. But where's the light in our dreams coming from? Or even if you just close your eyes. Like right now I'm seeing so many colors. It's just like proves like it's all in our heads. Everything. Our heads are in our heads. Where does the light in our dreams come from?
That is facts though. Like, where does the light in the dream come from? Like, how can you dream like an entire environment if you're in the dark? Like, if you're in an absolutely light confined area where there's no light, how do you dream light from the brain? Like, I already know it. Like, I don't need to speculate, by the way. I'm just saying, like, the super deep levels of awakening have become rather integrated within myself, where, like, I see reality as a process of, like, God divides itself and reunifies, and that is, like, the highest love. And we're in the process now of reunification, kind of. It's quite nuanced, but yeah, basically what I recognised, if I can tie the loose ends and kind of go back to the beginning, is basically when I woke up this morning and the alarm went off and I woke up for work, it's like basically the dream just transformed. Like, when literally in my experience this morning when the alarm went off, it was like the dream didn't end, it just transformed in a multi-dimensional way. Because I was dreaming that I was on a bus, and I was dreaming that the bus was crashing or whatever the fuck, and it was raining and it was nighttime, and I was on the top deck, and then the alarm went off, therefore I quote unquote woke up in my room. But like, there was just like this feeling and this intuition that the dream didn't end, it had just transformed. Like, but it's just like an illusion to fool yourself into the scientific paradigm or the material paradigm. But you're dreaming the scientific paradigm, you know, like that's how you, like, I was having this debate with my colleague at work and about the material paradigm, and I just said to her, like, you are dreaming science, you're dreaming materialism. And that's it, really. You know, that's all you need to know, kind of. Or not that it's enough to grasp that conceptually, like, you kind of need to experience it in a way. But yeah, it's just you're just dreaming the material paradigm. The material paradigm is being dreamt in a mind that is purely metaphysical. Like, what a fucking genius trick that is. It's like God's mind is dreaming a scientist that it put, like, you can put authority in a materialist scientist and then like self-deceive yourself as God by incarnating into like a limited separate ego, and then putting authority in the materialist scientist, and then like, yeah, giving your authority away to like your teachers and your peers and your culture and your parents and the education system. And then God literally deceives itself into the paradigm that it puts that is sold to it by the authority figure that it puts his authority into, and then it creates self-deception, therefore exploring infinity. But yeah, did I make that clear? That's it. Yeah, it was just weird. It was just a feeling. Like, the dream didn't end. It just like got way more conscious. The way that actualize.org or Leo Gura speaks of it is like conscious, like imagine like a knob of consciousness, like a dial, and you can spin this dial infinitely clockwise or anti-clockwise, and the more you spin it clockwise, which is increase or up, it just gets more and more conscious, aka more and more awake, and vice versa. If you spin it down, it gets less and less conscious, more and more asleep, which would be lower vibration, lower frequency, which would be this like tireder state. Again, when I speak about normal dreams being very sort of unconscious, you know, you're not literally like awake in the dream and thinking like, wait, how the fuck was there a wasp just now, and now I'm in a bus, and now I'm at my ex-missus' yard, and now I'm walking the dog, and now I'm driving to space in going up a vertical road that leaves Earth with my mother in the car. And these things in the dream, supposedly, like in the lower state of consciousness, can happen so like it can just cut from one scene to another with no consistency. Like, and that's what kind of sells the material paradigm, is like because it holds this consistency. And again, Leo Gura speaks of this, where it's like you believe it's real just because it's consistent. But dreams are not consistent. They're not solid. You believe that this is real because it's solid. It's kind of coherent. Like the story maintains itself as if it is a material paradigm. But you know, like imagine you was going about, like I don't know. It's tricky, man. I often say that magic mushrooms make you dream while you're awake. That's how I describe magic mushrooms. That's partly how I describe psychosis to an extent, or schizophrenia as well. Even though like every human ever has schizophrenia and psychosis, basically, especially in the West, most of Western culture, even though those are just labels. But yeah, what can I say? But yeah, in terms of like the solidity of this waking state, like imagine if you was like just in a normal waking day on Earth, a normal day in your human life, and then it just like you started to dream while you was awake, and like before you knew it, like imagine like you went to go to your family's house, like you went to go to a relative's house, right, and you turned up and they were like you were expecting to see like 10 people, right, 10 members of your family, but when you go in there, there's actually 10 of each person. So like your sister and your mother and your brother, instead of there just being one of them each, there's actually 10 of them each, and they're all speaking fucking Japanese telekinesis. And it's like, how do you explain that? Well, you don't have to because it hasn't happened. Yeah, but what if it did happen to you? is what I'm saying. It's basically nothing's real. Everything's an illusion. It's an infinite paradox, and it's an infinite dream of the highest intelligence and the highest love, and that's all I know. So get going, take care of yourself, trust the universe. I used to say I trust the universe and stuff, but I was just kind of saying that. Now I really trust the universe, because I'm going back to God. That's the main thing, by the way. Like, beyond all the conspiracies, beyond all duality, beyond everything, is like, ultimately everything is going back where it came from. Like Monopoly, like you get Monopoly out of the box and you do all the game and you collect all the stuff on the board and you fucking defeat everyone and you play all this shit and you do all this madness and you win all the money, you win all the properties, and you're like, woohoo, I killed the Ender Dragon, the final boss, I won Monopoly, and then at the end everything has to go back in the box. That's where all of this is going. And that's kind of what happens every night when you go to sleep. Partly. It's a bit of a mystery, you know. Mystery is luring me, reality is teasing me, sinking deep in lunacy. But yeah, it's all going back in the box, and that is non-duality. And you can access that now, before death. Non-duality and duality. That's the analogy of Monopoly going back in the box kind of thing, the metaphor. But it's an illusion. Nothing ever really left everything is still in the box, but it isn't at the same time. You can kind of be in both worlds. The relative and the absolute plane exist simultaneously, kind of. But yeah, that's it. I'm just saying, I'm going back to God, and that's what reality is doing. It is a engine of division and reunification, and that is the process of love and yin and yang and duality, and that is lost and found, and that is what everything is doing. It's hide and seek. The biggest game of hide and seek ever. God is playing hide and seek with itself. God forgets that it's God, and the process of following the breadcrumb trail that you're listening to right now is you following the breadcrumb trail that you dreamt for yourself as God, as the one infinite mind of infinite minds, as the one in the center of everything, as infinity, and you forgot that you was God, and this is hide and seek, and now you are remembering that you're God, which is the ultimate realization, and this is the largest thing that could possibly ever happen, or exist, or be, ever. It is this right now, this present moment, this energy around you, this, recognize the mystery kind of thing, and that is the greatest gift ever, because that is God, and you are in the game, my friend, and this game is luring you from your separation, and you're going to keep following that lure, and you're going to keep discovering, and then when you finally reunify after you've discovered and you've pieced all the dots back together, you'll remember and you'll say, I'm back here again, how did I ever forget? And you'll remember so deeply, and it'll be the most profound experience in the history of the world, that inner and outer space are exactly the same, and you are the Godhead. And when you remember thoroughly enough to the point where you might attain this enlightenment, and but there's trade-offs, you see. It's hard to play an ego so seriously when you're so enlightened, so if you want to play ego again, you might just have to fall back asleep, my friend, and that might be what you decide to do, because there's trade-offs to different states of consciousness. You can't be like a radical political fucking activists so seriously if you're aware that you're in a holographic matrix. So, in order to have fun being a conspiracy theorist and actually taking your ego seriously, you have to forget that you are dreaming. Because if you knew that you was dreaming, you'd understand that your mind is actually projecting and creating the entire thing. So you'd end up just like breaking up into laughter or being fucking terrified. So in order to play any role you want, God has to self-deceive itself. Because if it didn't, then it would be too awake to things like sex and lust. Like, that's not possible if you're in a super ultra mega high vibration. Maybe. I mean, it is, but not exactly. That's more of like a human biological thing, kind of. I'm sure that's not inherently true, but like, it's like, you can't, like for example, yeah, like what I found is like, normally I desire to smoke weed, but when I'm like in like a super state of God consciousness, I'm just like I like surpass all desire, where like I don't even understand why I would ever like tempt desire. It's weird. Not everything exists at every level of consciousness, basically. Yeah, there's trade-offs. So, yeah, like when you spend this whole time seeking enlightenment, seeking awakening, and when you get it, you realize that like there's a reason you fell asleep in the first place. It's so that you can play the game. So when you wake up, you're like, oh, I did this, like, there was a reason I fell asleep. So you can want to go back to sleep after attaining enlightenment. It's like you're chasing something, and when you finally get it, you realize that the journey actually was the destination. So you actually go back into samsara because it's love. And awakening is so blinding. It's so blinding that it's actually a gift for God to forget that it's God. Because God is eternally awake. God is infinite consciousness forever. So it's God's gift to itself to forget its infinite, endless, boundless consciousness. So it deceives itself into all sorts of scenarios, good or bad, terrible, detrimental, terror, potentially, nightmares. But it's all love in a way, because it's nice for God to pretend that it's finite. It's a gift for God to pretend that it's finite, because the truth is you're not. You're infinite, you're eternally awake. This is... And God is like coping with eternity. God is coping with eternity. So your bad habits potentially, for me, like I get, like, or I have in the past, like I'll eat junk food and then get sad and like beat myself up because I ate junk food, and I'm like, I'm sacrificing my personal development and my growth because I'm eating the junk food. But really, that's just a mechanism to keep God asleep and forget that it's infinite. So yeah, like even like the dark times, it's like, it seems dark, but like it's way deeper and metaphysical than that. God is forgetting that it is God on purpose, because you're awake forever. You have unlimited time. So you might as well do everything, because you can handle it, because you're infinity. And the more you stomach, the stronger you get, even though you're already infinitely strong. Ram Dass speaks of it as, imagine there was a mountain, and once every 100 years a bird flew over the mountain with a silk cloth in its beak, and the cloth rubbed against the peak of the mountain once every 100 years. And the time it would take for the silk cloth to wear away the mountain is how long you've been doing this. But not only that, that whole cycle repeats 1 billion times. And that's how long you've really been doing this. But also, that cycle repeats 1 billion times. And again. Times strange loop infinity. So it's like literally you've been doing this forever. The beginning and the end is now in the present moment. You are the Godhead. You can never leave the Godhead. And you are distracting yourself from the awe and the terror of infinity, because it's nice to forget that you are trapped, because consciousness can't end. You are trapped, but you're also not. You trap yourself. This is what I posted on my Instagram. I wrote this myself not long ago. There's a few of them. I'll read them. Hold on. God, the now / the present moment / 0 point energy / the self, is always there. If you can't recognize that God is always there, you are blind. Open your awareness and recognize you are and forever will be with what is. That is God. You are that. Forever. Non-existence does not exist. As faith strengthens, God is all you will ever need. Why cling to impermanence / changing forms? Hold on to the center. That's you. That's I. That's one of them. And I got another one coming up. A better one. Here we go. You / God cannot leave the center. You are always sat in the center. All this stuff / info is convincing you that there is somewhere else to be, and that is valid on the relative plane. But in the absolute, God is always in the center. Equals exactly where it needs to be / the only place you can ever be. You cannot leave the Godhead. You are playing there is elsewhere to be. It's an illusion. In brackets, a semi-valid illusion. End bracket. God is eternally awake, so it's buying time, as in it keeps itself occupied by imagining problems and a future. God is entertaining / distracting itself from eternity. You got forever. Let's pretend there is something we better get done. To spend time. AKA, to distract yourself from eternity. Mr. Nature liked that post. Another one that I wrote is around the same time. Anywhere God takes me, I want, I love. I'm grateful for any path. I'll go where I'm meant to. I trust the Most High. Bullshit immunity. Fake world can't get to me. I've seen the illusion shatter countless times. I ain't falling for God's gaslighting. Pain is a resource. Stop resisting. MC Words commented, "Fuck the Matrix, why are we even here?" But yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Hamza Ahmed put up some Full Guide suggestions, and I commented, "Full guide on how God is pretending to be Hamza to deceive itself into a false paradigm." That's good. And I don't know. But yeah, I think that's it for the most part. I don't know what the fuck I'm going on about anymore. I'm just scrolling through my Instagram. I got this post that I didn't write, but Mr. Nature sent this to me. Emotional moviegoers are too intent on beholding motion pictures to notice the overhead picture-causing beam. So the projector at the cinema, right? Similarly, worldly men are too deeply engrossed in God's dream pictures of life to perceive his taintless, omnipresent beam. That is the sole creator, the only doer. So this, I'm talking about the Pink Floyd album cover. The unity into division, the white light stem into rainbow. The rainbow is contained within the white light. And the white light is everything you ever see that can ever be around you, and that is God's omnipresent beam. So recognize God's omnipresence, because it's always there, and you can't ever leave that, because God is everywhere all the time. So if you're looking for God, God is all you will ever find, and Ram Dass speaks on this a lot. One more post maybe I see here that's kind of relevant. I read this myself. We are inside Minecraft in real life. We are in survival mode right now. Creative mode can come later. We choose to create this world, as above so below. Play the game, or don't. You are projecting the meaning onto the game ultimately. You don't have to play, but won't it be an adventure if you do? I often make the, as above so below, so, like, Minecraft I feel is such like almost a good metaphor for life, and to understand enlightenment and things. Like, again, when I mentioned the Ender Dragon earlier, like, when you kill the Ender Dragon in Minecraft, which is supposedly the final boss, me and my friend actually did this. Ollie, you might know Ollie from a few of my older podcasts, like, we had that bad mushroom trip together. We shared like a bad trip at the same time, it was weird. But like, yeah, we were playing a Minecraft realm together, and like we killed the final boss, and then like we got back to the base, and we were like, now what? And we just fucking logged off. Like, it was literally, it's like cliche, but that is literally how it is, I swear. Like, I wonder if I can find the video. I think.
Are you constantly?
Is it on actualize.orgs? I think it was. What was it? There's a comment on actualize.org that I'm trying to find. I'm struggling to find it, but it was someone's comment that articulated what I just said. But yeah, like, when you kill the Ender Dragon, there's nothing to do. So basically, the journey is the point. So don't like focus on the destination so much, because when you get the destination, you realize you should have been enjoying the journey. Like, I know it's cliche, but it is really that. Like, the journey, like, that is the fun of it. And the destination, like, you know, like you say, like, you kill the Ender Dragon. It's like you play Minecraft and you're so focused, like, come on, we need to kill the Ender Dragon. It's like that you don't even realize that it's been love the whole time, because you're so focused on this goal. And when you complete the goal, it's like, I've done it. So, like, what the fuck was, like, it's like the fun was pretending that you ought to do it, and then like all of the build up towards that, and then the final battle, and then the victory, and then like, it's like when Mario saves Princess Peach, right? So Mario, obviously, like the Mario game, that's the plot, Princess Peach gets stolen, right? But then when Princess Peach is saved, Mario is just still on the screen. It's like, yeah, I'll save the princess, woohoo! And then he's just still stood there. It's like, wait, hold on a minute for a second. Everything's the same as it was before. It's you spend your life so focused on these goals, and like, metaphysically you're still just dreaming the whole thing, so like, you're just fooling yourself and chasing your own tail as God, playing hide and seek. Wake up, your birthday is today, your birthday is always. Everything is a reflection. See Alan Watts' Man is a Hoax. Happiness is promised in the future. Tomorrow never comes. I'm gonna sing a song now for the outro. So I don't know all the lyrics, but hey, yo, you can fly to to distant galaxies without any rocket ship. We can ride the racing neural pathways of the brain. Slither with the snakes in the swamps of the primeval jungle, yeah. We can jump through the geometry of the future life sound. Because inner and outer space are exactly the same, yeah. When you start hearing voices speaking inside of your brain, yeah. And you might start to feel just a bit like you're going insane, yeah. Because inner and outer space are exactly the same. Really loud, sorry. It's very fucking late. My mum's gonna moan at me. Maybe I'll let it play for us. What the fuck? I did not plan to do a 40-minute audio recording. That is mental. What the fuck? Now we can laugh to ourselves deep in the belly of the beast. We can raise our voices in heated discussions to no avail. We can see from the sides of our minds more truly than from the front. Can begin to sense alien intelligence making shape from the pole. I said inner and outer space are exactly the same, yeah. When you start hearing voices speaking inside of your brain, yeah. And you might start to feel just a bit like you're going insane, yeah. Inner and outer space are exactly the same. That's Robin, who is that? Robin SYLVAN. Inner and outer space are exactly the same. You can find that on We Plants Are Happy Plants YouTube channel. Anyway, I'm gonna go now because it's fucking bedtime. Even though there's no such thing. Everything's imaginary. It's so weird. Oh my god. Just like I'm looking at my desk and like all of the items on my desk and I'm like, it is just all imagination. It's fucking weird, man. Don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Pain sells the illusion. Because, the thing is, this is something else I was thinking. It's kind of hard to articulate. Like, although it's an illusion, it's a real illusion. Like, although God is fucking with itself, it's still valid. Where, like, shadow work and trauma. Like, when I hear these podcasts of people talking about their childhood trauma or their relationship troubles, someone cheated, or like a murder. Like, when you watch a murder documentary or something, if you do, on one level you can see how God is dreaming the whole thing and it is love. But on another level, you can see how it is actually real. So, like, because suffering is real. Like, although everything's imaginary in that, like, Gaza and poverty is still prevalent. Like, even though you're dreaming poverty, that doesn't take away from the reality of it, because it is real. Like when I listen to a podcast about like relationships, or like, I can feel how it's love. If I listen to Ari Marcus, if I listen to Ram Dass or Leo Guru or anyone, a spiritual podcast or a personal development podcast, if I listen to Hamza, anyone, I can feel, as I've become to integrate living on multiple different planes at the same time, like on the absolute plane, I can feel and I can see and I can sense how everything is perfect, and that God's mind is imagining time, and there is no time, and that the present moment is eternal, and that everything is imaginary and everything is love. But also it's valid because, like, for example, someone's like story about like basically, if I was listening to a podcast, or if you was listening to a podcast and they were speaking about, someone was telling their story, like David Goggins or someone like who grew up in an abusive household and it was really hard and they went through depression or something, and then they personally developed, and then they actualized, and then they wrote a book about their childhood trauma, and then they become successful, right? You can see how it's love because it's a rags from riches story, and that story is love. You can feel the kind of the love and the warmth, so to speak, of the story of rags to riches, because it's God is telling stories through humans. Like, you can feel the love of the story because story books and stories genuinely are loving, like, because it's a story, you know, it's almost like a form of entertainment. So you can feel how it's love and a dream by God's mind, but also the incarnation is still real. Like, even though it's love, he still actually did incarnate into this like abusive household, and he did actually had to go through years of trials and tribulations. So like the pain is very real. So like it's tricky to communicate. I'll communicate this point more thoroughly in the future. I didn't mean to go on about it right now, but yeah, it's just like it's weird. It's like everything is simultaneously real, but also it isn't. Stuck between nothing's real and realistic, mess around in the third dimension but still a mystic. It's like yeah, it's really hard to explain, because like when you hear someone talking about overcoming their traumas, it's like they're allowed to do that because their trauma and their past and their struggles were very real, but you can feel simultaneously like that whole rags to riches way that they're telling the story is love. So reality is just playing this game of love, but it's also still very real because they actually did have to live through it and go through the pain and the suffering and the confusion. But like in the biggest picture, in the end, when all loose ties are tied in the ultimate end, you feel and you understand and you know that it's love. But it was still very real while you were in that incarnation. Like when you was in your separateness, it was very real. But when you return to unity as God, you see how the whole thing was just an illusion to create love. But while you was in it, the pain was very real, and it actually did sell the illusion that there was something at stake. But yeah, it's like everything is simultaneously super ultra real, but at the same time it's super ultra fake. It's an infinite paradox, and you are trapped in the center of it forever, but you're also not trapped because everything is your will, but you are not the ego. You are everything and you are infinity. So I was going to say you're not who you think you are, but that's like Leo Gura. He likes to accuse his audience of being stupid. Like, he does it in a way like as if he knows that he's talking to a stupid materialist. Like, if I said you're not who you think you are, I'm making an assumption about who's listening to this recording. But yeah, you're God, you're infinite. But yeah, if you think that you are, like, what's your like when I say who are you, I asked a colleague at my work, who do you think you are? Like, somewhat, we were talking about like metaphysics and things. Like, he was saying to me, like, if you have a child, are you just going to tell your child that everything's like a dream and that everything's not real? And I said, well, what would you tell your child? That everything's like science and material? And he's like, yeah, what, are you disagreeing with science, are you? And I just laughed. I said, bro, you're dreaming science. But yeah, I asked him, like, who are you? Just Max, his name is. Like, this guy literally believes that, like, his identity is literally his human self. Like, that is so laughable to me now. Like, I used to think that. I'm not hating on him, but like, when people are like, who are you? Well, I'm just me. And then, like, you just have like loads of memories and labels in the cognitive realm. But when you become more conscious, you realize that, like, when someone asks you who you are, all you can do is like think images and memories of like your personality, where you live, your name, what you like, who you know. But that's not you. Those are just like images in the mind. And people actually think that they are that. And it's like, that is like why, that's like the cosmic giggle and the cosmic joke is like, it's self-deception. It's like, but it's real again. Like you're in this illusion so much, and it's so real, and it is valid. But when you realise that the whole thing was being projected from your mind the whole time, the more and more you realise that, and the more and more you will lose your mind. And when you lose your mind, it's like you were literally creating the whole fucking thing the entire fucking time. Your mind was at the very least co-creating everything via thoughts. But it's like, it's all to do with the level of consciousness. When I spoke earlier about the dial or the knob of consciousness and the different levels of consciousness, this is what I'm talking about. Is a low state of consciousness is unconsciousness, which is like ignorance. You're ignoring half of the sensory field. Most humans are doing that. It doesn't help that the food is bogging them down, and that they're just not awake spiritually. They haven't had like an activation, and like their brain is fucking rotting from like fluoride and aspartame and shit. But yeah, like when I was contrasting the quote-unquote dream realm versus the real realm or the awake realm, is there's different levels of awareness or lucidity, and that is how God like self-deceives itself. Because you know, when you're a child, you know how like you're less awake than you are when you're an adult for the most part. Like, it's almost like, the way that I word it is that I didn't used to know that I was alive. It's like I was literally a robot for like 15 years, and then like it wasn't until like I took loads of magic mushrooms that they literally like fucking shook up my consciousness so radically that I literally woke up. It was a long process. There was a lot of ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and I'm still in it. I feel like I'm actually finally reaching some kind of level ground where I'm getting to this more stable state. Because like you can have peaks of awakening, or vice versa, of like dips of awakening, where like, or peaks of consciousness or dips of consciousness. But to actually maintain a state is a different thing. Like you may have an awakening, or a psychedelic awakening, or a breathwork awakening, right? But it's a very different thing to actually integrate that into your baseline for a long time. Like having a peak state of awakening is not the same as integrating that into your baseline. Like, because a lot of people, you can have and I've been guilty of this in the past, I've experienced this a lot, it's like you have a super peak awakening, and it is real for the most part. You can have valid awakenings and valid insights, but then you just come crashing back down. And I'd done this like literally like 150 times. And then like over time, I haven't done psychedelics now for a good 8 months. So yeah, I've done like a good probably 150 trips on mushrooms and LSD, a mix of the two, sometimes both at the same time, which I'm not sure if I would recommend. I'm not telling you to do that inherently. But yeah, and then like it really takes a lot of consciousness work, a lot of time, a lot of contemplation, a lot of meditation, a lot of introspection, a lot of reflection, going in and out of these different vibrations and levels of consciousness and awakeness, and contrasting those, and just growing and maturing with time. And eventually you can kind of integrate it all into one, and then it can like move your baseline up over time. But to actually change your baseline, like you can reach a peak state of enlightenment and God consciousness awakening. Like you can do that if you somewhat get lucky, like maybe with a psychedelic or something, and you can literally go into the Godhead. But you'll just come back down, you'll crash back down, and you'll forget, and then you'll start rationalizing like, oh, maybe it was just chemicals in the brain, maybe it was it a delusion, and then you can misinterpret some of the insights from there. But to really stabilize. Like there's a difference between an awakening experience and a temporary awakening state. There's a difference between a peak and a sustained level, and a sustained level is very valuable and likely somewhat what we're aiming for. That was fucking loud. What the hell? Sorry. But yeah, it's just aim for the sustain. The reason why I'm rambling and I keep going on is partly because I want to get this recording to 1 hour. There's not really an exact reason for that. I just kind of wanted to do that, or maybe I shouldn't. But yeah, that's it now. You can go. I might just let it ride out for a few more minutes just for its own sake. But yeah, that's it, lads. Thanks for tuning in, and I love you very much. What can I say? One sec. To close off, let's do some mild form of meditation or something. Just breathe right now with me. Focus on your breath, brother. I advise you to take deeper breaths throughout the day. Do less shallow breathing throughout the day. Start the day with deep breaths. You gotta do some deep breaths in the morning. I feel like it's almost like there's like a cap on your breathing depth until you stretch it manually. So like you will breathe shallow until you do deep breathing some point throughout the day, and your breathing will likely get deeper naturally. It's like if you practice deep breathing constantly, you will actually likely breathe deeper all of the time, even when you're not consciously practicing deep breathing. And the breath is very much connected with the spirit. Awakening is very much connected with the breath. And at the end of the day, when things are getting tough, if you're in complexity, if you're confused, just connect the breath. Honestly, that's the center, that's the anchor. The breath is the anchor. Anchor yourself in the truest thing you know, which is the breath. And if you're struggling with life, if you're struggling in multiple different dimensions maybe, just wait and breathe, and who knows how long it could take, if any time at all. Just breathe, wait it out. Maybe it's something in your nervous system, maybe your consciousness just needs to settle down. It could be some trauma shock response. Just breathe and love yourself and your environment with your consciousness. Just try and learn how to actually nurture with your consciousness and love yourself and everything around you. And if you're struggling, I think personal development has it backwards in a way. Some of these teachers is take it slow to an extent. You do have time. It's a paradox again. Of course, discipline is necessary in some ways, but your peace of mind should be a priority in a way, because reality is insane while simultaneously being sane. So just chill to an extent. It's a balance. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself, especially if you're young. Just breathe and wait and be aware and love and wait. And in 2 months, 3 months, after doing loads of breath work, after eating loads of food, after watching content, after chilling, after all sorts, having loads of conversations, going to work, going to sleep, waking up, getting in the shower, doing all of, and like within fucking 3 months, you'll feel different about everything anyway. So you don't need to fucking crack down in the moment inherently. Maybe you just need to take the pressure off for a while. And when you do that, maybe you'll find the space you need to have a sensible state of consciousness to assess your situation and start again moving from stillness instead of running around like a fucking neurotic materialist trying to collect everything on the Monopoly board that's ultimately just going to go back in the box anyway. So what's the fucking point? Trying to maintain a body that's just going to crumble. I mean, I don't know. It's a game of beliefs kind of as well. Like if you believe that the body's going to die, then it will, even though it will anyway, because everything finite dies in the end kind of anyway. I don't know, it's a paradox. It's you are the placebo, you are God, you are dreaming, anything's possible, everything's possible, you are nothing, nothing is everything, everything is love, love is infinity, love is nothing, everything is nothing, nothing is God, everything is God, love is nothing, is God, is everything, forever is God, for nothing, forever, for never, never is now, forever, for eternity, and that is God, and that is infinity forever, and that never happened, and you are God, and you are dreaming, and that is forever, and infinity is oneness, which is duality, and that is unity, and that is God, in the now, forever, timeless paradox, loop, trap, forever, God, wake up, hello, welcome home. Goodbye, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again, because this has already happened, and if you haven't noticed, this is forever. Get used to it, motherfucker, cause it's love, and this is what you want. You're just going the long way around it, because everything needs contrast. Don't complain, cause you're lame and can't hang. See you later. That's OXSN signing out. OXSN, innit?